beautiful people, and welcome back to the Good Up podcast. I'm your host. I'm one of the hosts.
Why are we so unserious? Like one day we're gonna come on here and we're gonna like be super like
Professional.
polished and professional. We just be coming on here doing like I'm sitting here like a hood rat. Like what am I doing?
I didn't promise Ayo that I would be anything other than good up, and
say it.
so it is what it is. But welcome back for another week of shenanigans.
Okay.
My name is Hey Isa, and I love Beyonce and hippos. Tidra, would you like to introduce yourself to any new listeners that are listening?
That's a good sentiment. I would like to introduce myself as your favorite person, most likely to be your stepmother, but not for long.
That's your superlative this week, most likely to be a stepmother.
Yes, but not for long, because I'm simply seeking out a future ex-husband.
I support that.
Yeah, actually, I take that back. Because lately, like these days, I guess it's because I'm getting older. I don't know. I'm like, I guess having a man around wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. So I'm shifting my mindset and saying, hey, there's possibility for romance and companionship in my life. I just have to make it look the way I want it to look. So no, I'm not seeking a future ex-husband. I'm too terrified to even mention the possibility of having a crush.
Somebody else's ex-husband? What if he's already been through the process?
Sometimes sometimes I genuinely want like somebody like a do-over husband. Like I want somebody who tried, failed, took the time to learn.
Really committed.
Took the time to learn from his mistakes, because he's like, I actually really like having a wife, but I fucked it up with that one. So let me be a better person so that the next wife I get is my forever wife. And I'm happy to be that forever wife. And if by chance my crush is listening to this, when we get married, we'll be married forever.
I know exactly who she's talking to too. Anyway, this week, y'all, we like last week, we have 2 segments that we're adding to the show just for shits and fucking giggles. The first of those segments, I'm actually going to let Deidre go first, is people being good up.
Okay,
because so first people of all, are just be out here being good up. So Deidre gonna talk about it.
Good up, bad. And here's the thing. This is very specific. I don't even know if anybody listening to this will ever have the opportunity to enjoy the good upness of who I'm about to share. But in my love and passion and obsession with physical fitness, I have become quite obsessed with Pilates. I think for a good year now, it's been my favorite form of activity. But baby girl, I found a Black-owned Pilates studio when I was living in New Jersey. Okay, let me tell you something. When you hear Pilates, you think of Brie Vanderkamp. You think of stick thin white women. Okay, you think of stretching. Pilates ain't no motherfucking stretching, baby. That's some real core work. You gotta be strong as fuck.
Pilates is the most fucking pain I've ever been in after walking out.
Okay, Pilates is that motherfucking girl. Okay, Pilates requires a certain level of strength that people be sleeping on. Regardless, when you hear Pilates, naturally you do think of like white women, right? Like 5'2", stick thin. But baby,
even when you say Pilates, I hear Pilates. That's the way I hear it in my head. Not the tone of my voice, everything saying it, but in my head.
But in general, when you hear Pilates, it's like, girl, but Pilates is actually a phenomenal strength, for a form of strength training. All that to say, I found a Black-owned Pilates studio in Hoboken, New Jersey called Ken Pilates. Not only is it Black-owned, it's Black-owned, it's a Latinx-owned, it's queer-owned. It's a very safe space for everybody that falls outside of stick-thin white women. The times that I've taken classes there, I felt the most welcome in a fitness space. And that's not saying I haven't felt welcome in fitness spaces, but I felt the most at home taking classes there. Shout out to Ken over there at Ken Pilates. Follow them on Instagram at Ken Pilates. And if you're in the Hudson County area of New Jersey, or just close enough to get to Hoboken without it being a trek, go check them out. And, strengthen your core.
I need some core strength.
Yeah, but yeah, in my opinion, a Black, queer, Latino opening up a Pilates studio, that's good.
Yeah, that's good up as hell in general. But I also think it's very good up because I remember last year, I don't know if it was on a podcast or one of our phone conversations where you said that you were searching for that kind of space and you found it. So I
I
feel like you
found
spoke
it.
that into existence.
I
And we
did.
love
I
to see it.
did. Yeah.
So
Shout out to the team over there.
yeah, shout out to them. That's about people being good up for the week.
Mm-hmm.
The next segment that we have on the show is the hill that we are going to die on. So hills I'm choosing to die on this week. Deidre says she didn't have one this week. I have one. And mine is, and when I say this, I know Ayo. You so committed to being nice. So committed to the point that you want me to be as nice of a person as you. I'm here to tell you, give that dream up, baby, because that's just not me. I am a kind person. I'm not nice. I am always going to tell the fucking truth. So here's the hill I am going to die on. Everybody don't need a goddamn podcast.
Griselda agrees. Hey, this is my bestie Griselda, and she agrees. Shout out to the patrons who can see who Griselda is, and I'm not going to tell the listeners. Only the patrons get to know that Griselda and I agree.
And that's not me trying to silence the masses. That's not me trying to stifle creatives. I know we were on a panel not too long ago where I was like, go for it. Live your dreams. I want you to live your dreams, but I also want you to understand that some of your dreams don't need to be lived. Some of your dreams you can keep to yourself. And if those dreams if you sit to yourself and say, I don't talk a lot. I feel like I have something to say. I gonna go buy a mic and say it. You don't always have to go buy the mic, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You could just phone a friend.
Yeah. Yeah. Phoning a friend is so slept on. I think some of the things that the girlies insist on speaking on podcasts about is stuff they really just need to talk to their bestie about.
Oh, go talk to that lady. With the coach.
A therapist, for those who can't quite
go call that lady and go talk to her. Somehow you think that every time you have a good idea or some profound statement that you need to go buy a mic and gather your best friends and sit in a place and talk about it. And I'm just here to say it's not that I think that Good Up should be the only podcast in existence.
No, not at all.
I just think we had material and it resonated and we've been able to reproduce that. This ain't about Good Up. This ain't even about us. This is about you.
Because I was about to say, like, girl.
This is about you. That's just the hill I die on. Everybody don't need a podcast. Maybe you just need an occasional Facebook Live to get your thoughts out. Maybe.
Yeah, going live is a vibe. No, honestly, and I miss going live. Oh, I can't wait to start doing that again. But yeah, going live sometimes is what you need. Something because the thing is like, I mean, people could record the live or whatever, but with going live, it's not gonna come back to bite you in the ass later.
You could always delete podcasts too. But also, Apple just came out with a new journal app on your phone where you can express your thoughts. You don't need to start a new podcast every time you feel like you are just the prolific of the century and you have something to say. There are too many podcasters now and not enough fucking journalists. Some of y'all need to be doing the research. Some of y'all need to be Googling some shit so that we could start getting away from this misinformed ass society some of you need to be banding together to take down the shade room, not starting new podcasts.
Girl, okay. Let me ask you something, because last night I found myself saying, Jesus Christ, what are your thoughts on Shannon Sharp's program? Because
I think it's trash.
I agree. I also think it's trash, but I don't understand when, and I think it might have happened when Cat Williams went on. I'm very afraid of his platform really becoming the place that people like entertainers want to go
when they want to shake shit up.
Not even to shake shit up, but for some reason it's like, why is this the platform where truth is coming up? I don't know how to explain it, but
because
I'm like,
people like mess. People like mess, and that's mess that's been platformed. And I gonna be honest and say that I haven't fully watched an episode of his show. So if that's what floats your boat, that's what floats your boat. But I feel like that falls into the same thing as everybody don't need a podcast. Like every celebrity is trying to start a show now.
Yeah, that's why I asked, because I agree. I don't think that everybody should have a podcast, and I feel like Shannon Sharp's show does fall into that category. Before Cat Williams appearance on there. I never watched it in its entirety. I just saw like little clips here and there, and I was always like, ugh, misogyny, gross. Like I could never find a reason to watch it. But
Yeah.
because, and again, this speaks to Cat Williams and not so much Shannon, because of Cat Williams' impact on, you know, being there for that episode and whatever, I ended up going to, because it was so widely talked about. I watched Cat Williams' episode. I really enjoyed it, but that's my point. I only enjoyed it because of Cat Williams. So Cat Williams is what brought me there, right? He's very good at having conversations, if that makes sense. Like, I like the way he asks people questions. I feel like I'm not going to sit here and critique it because I don't even want that show to exist. Let's be clear. But it's like this only went the way it did because of Cat Williams. Cat Williams is who brought that flavor to the show.
Because I didn't even know the show existed before those episodes.
Yeah, I didn't know it existed. I didn't know a lot about. I watched Cat Williams' episode. I really enjoyed it because of what Cat Williams brought to it. Right now, I guess Monique's most recent episode is what people are talking about. I started to watch Monique's episode. I haven't really made it through the episode. So Monique is doing the same thing. Monique is bringing something special to the program by being there. But of course, naturally, I'm watching the whole thing and I'm observing Shannon. And I think because of Cat Williams' appearance on there, I think Shannon is starting to take it more seriously. And I'm like, fuck, I feel like Shannon Sharpe is trying to position himself to be really in the same circles as like journalists who are taken seriously, who have worked so hard to make it this far. And I'm like, the reason why it bothers me is because I don't think that Shannon Sharpe is equipped to have the kind of conversations that essentially Cat Williams caused him to start having. Because every time I've seen like Shannon Sharpe clips, it was always just like the dumb shit that the podcast bros are talking about, if we're being honest. And you know, and I still don't want to go back and watch old episodes to be proven wrong or whatever. But because of Cat Williams' effect on that show, I feel like Shannon Sharpe is starting to take it more seriously. And I feel like he now wants to be positioned to be aligned with the people who've been doing this shit for real, for real. And I don't even consider us to be the people who've been doing this shit for real, because we're not interviewing celebrities.
I'm not a journalist by any means. And that's I'm not people may listen to Good Up and feel like we didn't need to come on here and do a podcast.
And that's fine. That's fine. If they feel that way, they get to feel that way. That's okay. You know, but because we're not interviewing celebrities, we're not positioning ourselves as people who are giving a voice to people. Because I think what he did by bringing Cat Williams on is he gave a voice to voiceless in a sense. I don't know how to. Regardless, I don't know. But I feel like he does fall under the category of not everybody needs a podcast, but because of Cat Williams,
he does. He does. Yeah. He really does. And I mean, that was a part of what like birthed my whole rant and me wanting to die on this hill is just I going to just be fully honest. I'm not going to apologize for it. I think men especially have this thing where they see a woman do something and they say, oh, that sounds easy. And they say, I'm gonna start a podcast. Like, I see it so much within smaller spaces, people that I am closer connected to, but also like national spaces where men are propped up so easily for work that women have been doing historically, right? And in this podcasting space, that is happening a lot. A lot of the like OG podcasters were either co-hosted by men and women or like women hosted shows, and you started to see like this rise of the podcast bros. And I feel like a part of that was they were seeing women have these very profound intellectual conversations and saying, well, I could say that better than she said. I'm gonna buy a mic and I'm gonna start it. And we have a whole episode on the fact that I don't think men deserve microphones, but that's just the hill that I dying on this week, because I sick of you deciding that because you saw somebody host a podcast, and this is men and women. Women, I support most of you. Some of you dumb. So some of you don't need podcasts.
Oh my God.
And that's the hill that I dying on this week. Thanks, Deidre.
Welcome to another lovely, spirited, controversial episode of the Good Up Pod. No, but I'm with you on that. I do agree that not everybody should have a podcast. And that could include us.
And it could include us. If you could come to Arizona and pry this mic from my cold dead fucking fingers, you are welcome.
Not cold dead fingers. That was a lot. Somebody's been reading a lot.
Yeah. Ironically enough, I so dramatic. Ironically enough, this week's episode is about jealousy and envy.
Don't you jealous me.
Don't jealous me. Like, so Deidre and I had this conversation a couple of days ago about just this concept of jealousy and envy and how people make jealousy out to be this like boogeyman in the room, right? And we make it seem like jealousy is something that only other people can experience, right? Everybody is jealous of you, but you have never experienced envy because you're above that. You're better.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
you're
You
at a
somehow.
heightened thought process. So you never jealous, right? So this week we want to talk about the fact that you is a lion ass bitch, and we all experience envy
Yeah.
at some point in our
Okay.
lives.
Can you, because I know you're good at this, right? Can you explain the difference between jealousy and envy? Because I don't know that I've ever envied somebody. Or maybe I did and I didn't know that it was envy.
They're interchangeable.
They're interchangeable. Okay, I wasn't sure because is jealousy the feeling and envy the I don't understand.
I think so. I think jealousy and envy are just synonyms. Like they're two words that mean the same thing.
Okay.
But I
Because
think that it shows up in different ways. I think sometimes if you're jealous of somebody, you can covet what they have.
okay.
Or sometimes you want to be treated the way that they're being treated, or you
Okay.
envy something up. Like it
Okay.
shows up differently.
Okay. Because so we had like, hey, as I said, we had a conversation about this recently, and I, for the first time, was able to identify, like clearly identify that I was jealous of somebody. And it was very uncomfortable because I was like, what the fuck is going on between the sheets in my home? No.
Baby, wait, let me explain
before you start to point your pain. Okay. Let me be serious. Okay. Jealousy is very new for me. But I'm proud that I was able to identify that jealousy is what I was feeling. And I'm more proud of the fact that I didn't shame myself for feeling jealous. Because I guess I would have fallen under those people who think that jealousy is for everybody else. And I didn't think that I wasn't capable of jealousy. I just didn't really have much reason to feel jealous of other people. Because I like to celebrate other people. So even when I see that somebody's doing well at something, even if I'm not the one doing it, I never really have felt jealous. But for the first time in my life, at the tail end of last year, or even just for a good chunk of last year, actually, I feel like all of 2023, I spent that entire year because like being acquainted with jealousy, basically, in my personal life more than anything. But at first I couldn't, it took me a while to realize that jealousy is what I was feeling. And I'll use one example. There's this creator on TikTok, I forget her name, but this beautiful girl, she just graduated from maybe Columbia University, I think. Very beautiful. I think she's Black. I don't quite exactly know her race or whatever, but I think she's like Black or biracial or something. Long story short, she would randomly come across my feed on my FYP, and she would share like just stuff about like her dating life and just like what she had going on. I think she just was like a lifestyle creator. I don't even necessarily know what her niche is or whatever, but she would always appear on my FYP. And the first few times she appeared, I just thought she was so cute. I would enjoy watching her content because I thought she was cute. But then I started to not enjoy her content, but I didn't know why. Like she would come across my page and I would be irritated. And I would be like, why am I suddenly like, why do I not like seeing her on my page? And again, this is a girl who was maybe like a senior in college at the time, like in undergrad. So she was what, like 21, 22, very beautiful, living in New York City, in like this gorgeous apartment and obviously doing well in school as well. So I love, when she first came across my page, I loved seeing her. But then after a while, I didn't love seeing her. And then I had to recognize, I don't know what it took for me to finally realize that it was jealousy, right? But I ended up sitting with myself and being like, why am I suddenly irritated by the sight of her content? Like, why do I get not? And I wasn't even mad. I was just uncomfortable every time she would come across. I would just be like, oh, I don't want to see her. Like, but then I'm like, why? Like, you used to love seeing her, right? And then I think one night she was live and she came across my page and I just kind of sat and watched the live. And I was just sitting there irritated at watching her and I couldn't pinpoint it. And then I had to say, okay, Deidre, what is going on? What about? And I had to really have a conversation with myself. And then I stopped and realized, oh, Deidre, you're jealous of this girl. And the reason why is because a lot of her content started to focus on kind of like her dating life. And this
Mm-hmm.
girl was very I love the way she approaches dating. Let's be clear. I love the way she approaches dating. She's very solid in her standards, the way she dates, the types of men that she chooses from at a very young age. Then I realized that's why you're mad when you see her, and that's why you're jealous, because when you were that young, your discernment wasn't popping like hers is, right? I was when she first started coming across my page, I was very happy to see somebody so young be so selective, be so confident in dating, because when I was her age, I was not. You know what I mean? And then I started to realize, oh, Deidre, you're jealous of this girl because she's gonna bypass something that you had to learn through. And then I was like, okay, bet. At least now I know what it is. And what I ended up doing was once I identified that, I was like, okay, cool. At least now I know. But when she would come across my page, I would still be like irritated and jealous. So I blocked her because I was like, okay, she doesn't deserve for a complete stranger to have this kind of energy toward her. Because I wasn't upset at her. I never wanted anything like bad to happen to her, but I just would be mad and jealous as fuck when she'll come up on my FYP. And y'all know I'm a spiritualist. Y'all know I believe in energy. I don't want that. I don't want to look at her from jealous eyes. So I blocked her because I'm like, she doesn't deserve for me to be personalizing her shit. And I also don't need to be watching something that makes me feel irritated and bothered on the inside. I was able to identify that jealousy, wish her well, and I blocked her. Maybe I'll unblock her one day because I did like her content when I liked it. But that was when I first really kind of was like, bitch, you fucking jealous.
Can
And
I
I don't
just
want
say
her
though that the process that you took yourself through to instead of just like some people would have realized that her content irritates them and tried to find reasons that don't exist for why her
right.
content irritates them. Some people
Yeah.
would have been like, "Oh, she hikey a bitch," or da 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 da. Like
Yeah. And
there's
she's not.
people who just stop making shit up to justify that internal feeling, and for
Yeah.
you, you kind of clocked like, okay, this person isn't doing anything to me, but I
Nothing.
feel this way. So let me explore
Yeah, because
why I'm feeling that way.
and that's why I said it was so uncomfortable because I couldn't for the life of me understand why the sight of her on my FYP would get on my fucking nerves. Like I would get so irritated. And then once I realized, oh girl, you just jealous of this girl because at 21, 22, things were a lot different for you. And maybe had and then I had to kind of soothe myself and soothe my inner child and all that and be like, you know what, you good now. You're 30 at the time. I was like
Exactly.
30. So I'm like, you're good now. It's okay. You learn that lesson. And guess what? If by chance you have a daughter, your daughter is going to be just like this girl. That's what I had to do to kind of get past that and be like, you know what? You had to learn from certain things. I'm glad to see younger women have a better starting point than I did. And I'm going to ensure that if I do have a daughter, she's able to start out her adulthood the way that I think her name is Clark. I have to double check. I don't remember her name, but I really like this girl. I think she's beautiful. I love her content. I love her confidence. I love everything about her. But baby, I was jealous. Fuck. I'm glad I can say it was. But go ahead.
No, I listen, I so proud of you for acknowledging that because like I said, some people will literally go their entire lives being jealous of somebody and outwardly acting on it and not realizing that the feeling you experiencing is envy. That person has not
Mm-hmm.
done a single thing to slight you,
Nothing to
but
you.
you
Yeah.
feel envy. Like, yeah, I will say I think as somebody who has grown up in a body that I have grown up in, I have
Mm-hmm.
spent a large portion of my life experiencing envy.
Okay.
Um, experiencing envy towards women who have smaller bodies than me, experiencing envy towards women who were more conventionally attractive, like all of those feelings. Like growing up, there was a lot of envy because those
Mm-hmm.
people were naturally like more they were sought after, like they were seen as
Yeah.
attractive, and I spent a lot of my life in spaces where I was not being chosen, and the
Mm-hmm.
reason I wasn't being chosen is because I did not have what these people have. So of course that's what I want, right? Like I spend
Yeah.
my life wanting that and kind of being, angry about it and jealous of these people. I think the first person who I really experienced jealousy towards was my sister. um and looking back, I'm just like, Z didn't deserve that shit. But
Z is so darling. I love Z.
no, but that's exactly why, like,
Sorry, because
everybody
you
love. No,
Marsha, Marsha, Marsha.
but that's no, no, that's the truth. Everybody genuinely loves Z. And the reason is because she deserves that love. Like, Z has always been a dope person. She's always been incredibly smart, talented, like gorgeous
Yeah.
growing up. So I'm the youngest sister who had this like fine ass big sister. And everywhere you go, people are like, hey, let me talk to your sister. Like, you just be like, can you shut the fuck up? So I think when and it wasn't always jealousy because again Z been my girl from the womb basically.
Yeah.
So when I started experiencing jealousy was when we both got to an age where the guys that I liked were within her age range too.
Okay. Oh,
And
okay.
I would have guys like very inappropriately try to get themselves in closer proximity to me and then basically try to talk to my sister
Oh,
through
that's
me.
fucked up. Yeah, that's fucked up.
So instead of looking at it as this dude is a piece of shit, my young brain is like, well, what she have that I don't have? Like, why is it always like I listen, I used to be, I was a hater for it. I was at the point where I started to tell myself that my mom preferred my sister to me. And like this is a belief that I started to have in my head. And I think it was when me and Z kind of got some distance from each other and she went to the States and I was home that I was like, okay, now that you've become your own person, you're getting older, you starting to develop a little bit more confidence. Like, was Z ever a problem? Like Z was never a problem. But that was jealousy and I didn't know how to navigate that. And you know, in my head, I probably at some point in my life, like me and my sisters arguments and me lashing out towards her was probably because of that envy. But that's the first
Yeah.
time like I remember experiencing it was telling myself that I'm not who I want to be. I don't look how I want to look. And here's like the literal embodiment of what I wish I looked like, how I wish I was
Right.
treated. Um, but you couldn't tell me back then that that's what it was because again, every time you talk about jealousy and envy, people are like, why would I be jealous of this person? Or like they make it seem like this
Right.
horrible thing. And jealousy is not, it's not good to act on,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's inherently good or bad. It's just an emotion that
Yeah.
we experience.
I was just about to say jealousy is not what's bad. What you do with that jealousy is what it can be bad, right? Because what I could have, what, like, let's say I never noticed that jealousy is what I was feeling, but like you said, I suddenly started to create in my head reasons to justify not liking this girl, right? And then I suddenly just started being hypercritical of her on her page. And then, God forbid, I point out something or I just say something that happens to speak to a really deep rooted like insecurity of hers. Or then I'm literally inserting myself, right? Because a lot of people do that on the internet, right? Like I could call her shallow or just say something just to be nasty, to try to criticize her. That's me acting on that jealousy. And then I don't know how that's going to impact her. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's going to be her 13th reason. Like the feeling of jealousy is not bad. What you choose to do with it is going to determine whether or not it's good or bad. Because
Mm-hmm.
you could process it. You could sit with yourself and say, "Hey, is my sister the problem or am I the problem?"
Mm-hmm.
Or you could be like, you could go talk to anybody who would listen about how fucking awful your sister is. And everybody loves Z. And she ain't even all that because she be leaving her laundry outside the hamper. I'm always the one doing the motherfucking dishes. She don't even fucking wash her hair as often as y'all. Like you
No,
could,
but and
you
that's a
could
good point is that sometimes when people experience envy, they want to go find a sounding board and they
mm,
will go associate themselves with your biggest fucking hater just to affirm what it is
yeah.
that they're feeling internally. And I don't see that on the internet a lot. By the way, sorry Z, I love you. You're amazing. I'm not jealous of you anymore. But
Shout out to
I love my sister, man.
growth. Shout
But
out to growth.
but you know, people on the internet, like I think Jackie Aina's comment section is a good example of this.
Okay.
I think that sometimes when people start out with a creator, when they're like a smaller creator and they're
Yeah.
able to sort of relate more heavily, they show so much more love to that person.
I
And then
agree.
when somebody like Jackie, and mind you, Jackie and Aina has her ways. I'm not saying she's perfect,
Yeah.
but the way that her lifestyle in the past 10 plus years has completely transformed. And now
Yes.
she's this very like she's basking in what she's worked for, essentially.
Yes. She's enjoying the
Uh,
fruits of her labor.
She's enjoying the fruits of her labor. Her lifestyle is very luxurious. She can afford a lot more things. Her house is very like you could tell Jackie Aina rich. You can tell in a
Yeah.
way that it was very obvious she wasn't when she started.
Yeah.
But now you're also seeing people who want her to apologize for that and are
Yeah.
much more harsh about everything she says. They're much more
Yeah.
harsh about the content she creates. And I personally think, valid critiques of Jackie Aina aside, the Alatara is jealousy.
Oh
Alatara
yeah,
is
for
people
sure.
wishing that she had stayed at the same
Yeah.
tax bracket that she was
Yeah.
at when
Yeah.
she started her channel, and now they're upset that she's grown, but they probably haven't.
They haven't.
The reality is everybody ain't gonna be rich,
Yeah.
but they can't find a way to be happy for her. It have to be, you have a life that I don't
Exactly.
have, so now I gonna tell you that you're fired big and I don't like your fucking couch. Like,
Which is crazy to me. And I'm glad you brought her up because ironically enough, I chose to unfollow Jackie Aina and I actually don't engage with her content at all. But it's mostly because there was a period where Jackie Aina spent a lot of time addressing those people and it became very
yeah,
irritating. You giving so much energy to people who are upset about that, and there's still so many of us who still fuck with you, and we're happy to see how far you've come. But so
mhm,
much of your energy is being spent over there, and it's like, for
yeah.
what? And
And
people's jealousy really got to her to a point where,
it did. And I can't say that I know what that's like, because even my version of viral that I've experienced
mhm,
is nothing compared to 10 plus years of having people
exactly.
come for your life. And it was probably very new for her to
Mhm,
have people basically see this lifestyle that she has now and be upset about it. But I think the comment sections is a good example of how creators will start a certain way or at a certain level, and the
mhm.
minute they really start to garner success, you start to see people get really like,
Really nasty.
yeah, like granular about all these things that this
Hmm.
creator does that's irritating, or
Yeah.
um and yeah, it's really frustrating to watch. So we talked about experiences that we've had personally with jealousy. You said that when you noticed you were experiencing like negative energy towards this person, you chose to block her. What's some other advice you would give like to a person if they start to experience feelings of jealousy? And the reason I asked this is because there was one time I saw, I don't know if it was a fake scenario or what. It was another podcast. They were reading like a listener letter. And
Mhm.
basically, one of the listeners said that she realized that she was envious of her friend and that she could not be happy for her friend.
That's
And she
crazy.
decided to tell her friend that,
Hmm.
and basically said, like, I have to distance myself from you because I
Hmm.
can't be happy for you. Right. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember
That's really
seeing that
big
video.
though.
It was big, but it pissed me off. Here's why it pissed me off. I think that if you had discovered that for yourself
Yeah.
and you said, maybe I need to back away from this person a little bit,
Hmm.
I need to figure out where these feelings are coming from, cool. But I
Hmm.
feel like the minute, in my personal opinion, the minute you sat down with your friend to tell them this, you made that your friend's problem.
I could see how you see it that way, but I think maybe because I don't have enough context to know how close they are, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a situation where they talk very regularly,
Mm-hmm.
and if she had just suddenly backed up, the friend is now like, "Well, why? Like, why am I not hearing from you?" Or
Mm-hmm.
uh,
And I feel like they could have tell them like, hey, I get some shit going on
and that's
that I need
valid.
to figure out within myself. Like,
Yeah,
make it
that's a good
your
approach. Make it
issue.
your problem. And I agree with you there. I think maybe there should have been like that consideration of not, like you said, making it your friend's problem. Maybe she just didn't have the language to be that,
True.
to make it that thought out, you know?
I want my friends to be honest with me. I want to be able to be honest with my friends. But I think that, like you said, radical honesty is new. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that we have to be aware of the impact of what we're going to share. And in my head, I'm kind of always thinking about like, okay, I want to be honest with this person, but what I'm about to share, is this actually going
Is
to
it
help
helpful?
this person at all? Is this helpful information? I
Mm-hmm.
think it's helpful if I find myself jealous of a friend and knowing that I'm going to distance myself to be like, hey, I'm going through some things and I need to deal with that on my own time, and I need you to respect that. Just know, like, I'm not mad at you, nothing's wrong. Like,
Yeah.
reassure them. But the minute I sit down and say, I I am jealous of your life and I have an incapability of being happy for you. I just think that knowing how we think, knowing how like our friendship dynamics are, I'm going to make my friend feel like they have to apologize for something. And I don't want that person to feel that way. And I think I could relate to this heavily because I have done that in the past. Like, not to say I've told somebody, but I had a friend who career-wise, her shit were like taking off. And I'm still at a point where my career is doing well, but I'm not in the career track that I want to be. And I am watching this person essentially live my fucking dreams, right?
Okay.
Back to back to back to back to back. And I found myself being incapable of being happy for this person
Okay.
and feeling resentment every time I would see, them post like a new accomplishment. I would be like, oh, fuck this bitch. Like, mind you, I don't think the person's a bitch. I don't feel any way about the person. I feel more angry at like myself and just how life has turned out or whatever. So I knew that I couldn't harbor these feelings and at the same time be in her face all day, every day, because I feel like I hate her. Like, I feel like I don't have the right energy towards her and her life. Like you said earlier, to be in proximity to her, she don't deserve that. But at the same time, knowing who she is,
yeah,
if
because
I had
for me,
told
I don't
her
know the
that,
person. Yeah.
yeah, knowing who she is, if I had said that to her, she would have probably feel like she have to apologize for something, or that she posting too much about it, or that she's showing off too much. And I don't want that. I want her to celebrate her life.
Yeah.
But I recognize that I'm unable to be as celebratory with her because I wish that I do want that to be like my life to some extent.
Yeah.
So, I explained like, hey, I trying to figure some shit out. Like, I did it in a very just like kind way, and they understood. But I feel like in a moment, if I had been like, I can't be happy for you, like, I don't know. I don't know. And maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm internalizing like how I would have taken it.
I was just, girl, I was literally just about to ask, do you think that there's a chance that if one of your friends said that to you, you would have felt like they're asking you to apologize for your successes? Because I think that's what it is. I think
Not
you're
that they
going,
asking me to, but I would feel the need to. I would
and
feel
that's,
the need to like
yeah.
not be as loud, if that makes sense.
Okay. And maybe that's something for you to unpack. Because for me, if because my thing is, and again, this everybody's perspective and their reality is based on their mindset. So for me, if somebody, whether it's a close friend or a complete stranger, said to me that they had a hard time being happy for me because of their jealousy or whatever, I wouldn't feel the need to post less. I wouldn't feel the need to, because I know that I've worked to earn whatever
Right.
it is that I'm proud of. And I
Right.
would wish them well on that journey to unpacking that. I wouldn't do anything different because you know what? Have you ever read The Four Agreements?
Yeah.
When I read that book, I felt like, I was like, I already know this shit. I didn't know it as The Four Agreements, but everything that I was reading in that book, I was like, this is how I already do things. Like, I don't take things personally. Like,
I
because
attack everything personally.
no, I don't. And I maybe, and sometimes, I'll be leaving soul contracts and shit. My mom is somebody who takes things very personally, right? And I think because I watched her navigate life that way, I was a very observant child. So I kind of chose to take on a different approach and do things differently. So yeah, I really genuinely, I wouldn't feel the need to change anything. I would, of course, want to know from that person, like, have I made you feel like I've been bragging? Or I would want to know from that person. Like, I would ask more questions. Like, have I been insensitive? Have I not been asking enough? And if if they're like, no, you haven't, this is all me. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry
Yeah.
I'm sorry you're experiencing this. I wish you well. I hope things work out. Let me know what you need from me. But I'm gonna
Yeah.
still keep doing my thing. Right?
And in you saying that, I something clicked for me that we probably gonna have to unpack in a different episode. But I think I grew up with someone who did experience a lot of envy, did take things personally very often, and often they made the people around them feel like they had to apologize for every time they were in a bad fucking mood. So I think for me, I internalize that, like, I feel like if a person tell me I can't be happy for you, I have to fix it. Like, I
Oh
have
no, fuck
to
that.
do something about myself to make
Yeah,
that
no,
person feel
fuck
better.
dumb shit.
So in my
Nah.
head, I'm just like, well, don't tell them that because they gonna feel bad because I would feel
No.
bad.
Yeah, because for me, I want honesty. I want,
Yeah.
and this is something that even like in my dating life, I don't think men think I mean it when I say I want honesty. I
Yeah.
would rather you tell me you ain't feeling me like that and that we should go our separate ways than for you to try to spare my feelings and string me along. And because the way I receive people's attention is that they're giving me this attention because they want to be here, right? So if you randomly having conversations with me and so on and so forth, but you're only doing it because you don't want to hurt my feelings, it's gonna hurt my feelings more later on. So just tell me, like I would, and a lot of people think that the truth is gonna upset this person or crush them or whatever. Some people prefer the truth, no matter how painful that truth may be.
Mm-hmm.
I would much rather you be fully transparent with me because guess what? In the moment, it might sting a little, but I could work through that, you know? But I can't work through having to unpack an extended period of being played around with, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
I think that's fair. Like, I definitely don't want nobody to give me the silent treatment and, like, don't distance yourself from me because you're dealing with a lot of stuff and, like, not tell me that, like, hey, I'm doing this for a reason or whatever. Like, obviously, you
Yeah.
should talk to your friends. But all that to say, jealousy is the real deal. And, like, all of us do experience some form of it, whether it's in your career,
Yep.
whether you are looking at somebody at your job. And let me just say, I have been in places where I've experienced jealousy and also equally been able to be happy for a person. Like,
Yeah.
I have been like, damn, I wish I had that bitch life, and then been like, but she's such a bad bitch. Like,
Yes.
I don't want people to hear jealousy and envy and think it's always like you standing in a corner fucking shaking like Nicki Minaj because somebody
Yeah.
else shining. Like, even though,
Raw, raw. Look at the
right, don't be standing in the corner with your Roman voice every time. Like, sometimes you can experience envy and
Yeah.
still equally be just as happy for a person. Like,
Yeah. And you
it's
know,
just,
one thing that okay, so remember I said I spent a lot of 2023 navigating, essentially being introduced to being jealous, also getting comfortable with acknowledging when people are jealous of me, because that's something that I also struggle with is if me and somebody have it out, I don't go to, oh, they're jealous of me, right? It's usually the people in my life, like other people who are like, Deidre, that fucking bitch is jealous of you. Like it's usually the people who love me who are going in like this motherfucker's jealous. So I spent a lot of 2023 navigating just like jealousy in total, right? But I one thing that I did to soothe myself, aside from like, because I had two different instances where I had to be like, oh girl, you are jealous, right? And then process it. In the other instance where I was jealous and I had to process it, I had to do that whole thing of, girl, the grass is not always greener on the other side. You only have a tiny fraction of the story. This thing that you're jealous of might be the worst thing ever. You know what I mean? Because you can only see this side of this cup. You don't know
that's
if
such an
there's a
important
giant,
point.
yeah, you don't know if
Nine
there's a
times out of 10,
giant,
jealousy is a lack of information.
it's a
You're
lack of
assuming that this person has this great life
something
that
great.
you supposedly want.
But it's all about perception because, like, there's a giant dent in this cup. You'll never know if I don't turn it around. So imagine somebody's jealous of what they're seeing, but they don't know what's going on the other side. So I had to do that to get myself through this other situation that I was feeling jealousy in, and it helped a lot. And I don't feel jealous of that person anymore. No, I don't, because what my girl what a girl who Jordan Wood said, I don't want her situation or something. It
Yeah,
was
I don't
very
want her
much that.
situation.
I don't want her situation. But I did experience jealousy, in another way. And I was like, oof. But then I had to be like, girl,
Yeah.
you only know a little piece of the puzzle, honey.
Listen, I mean, and that's a lesson that I've had to learn is, like I said, I found myself often jealous of anybody who I considered prettier than me,
Mm-hmm,
anybody who had the attention of boys, especially when I was a teenager.
mm-hmm.
And I grew up and I watched how a lot of those women's lives unfolded. And I'm not saying that the only thing that helped me to not feel jealous anymore was seeing their lives basically like fall apart, because not all of them, had that outcome. But sometimes I got to know those women as women. Sometimes it was that I matured and I realized that teenage boys will pay attention to a blade of grass if they have titties on it.
Facts.
I matured. I accepted the
Mm-hmm.
reality of life, but also I started to develop in my own self. And kind of acknowledge, like the more confident I became with myself, the less
Mm-hmm.
envy I would find myself experiencing, because it's really hard to be jealous of other people when you're that bitch. That's all I'm gonna
Oh,
say. So,
hello.
and this ain't me like obviously trying to like have a big head about it, but honestly, truly, have you ever really seen my resume and been like, hey, Isa ain't that girl for real? Like, you
Exactly,
have
because
never
you
said
are
that.
that girl. You know what I think would be very helpful, especially because we are molding the next generation. I mean, obviously for ourselves, we need to be
Hmm.
doing this. I like to approach things from a reparenting standpoint.
Yeah,
So even when I was experiencing that jealousy, I spoke to the little girl in me
exactly.
and I taught her how to navigate this. But
Exactly.
for those of you who have children or who are influencing children in any fashion, teach children how to identify jealousy, teach them that jealousy is a normal feeling and what you do about it is what really counts. And teach children how to identify that they're feeling jealous, how to process it, how to work through it, and how not to let that jealousy turn them into little monsters, right? But also help them to strive for more. Because when you feel jealous and envious of somebody, a really good way to challenge yourself is to say, okay, there must be something in them that I feel like I deserve. So how do I get it? Because a lot of us, our interactions, I know there's like this philosophy about like a three-way mirror, and every single person that we encounter, whether we know them or not, there's like a version of us in them. So if you're feeling jealous of somebody, there might be something about them that should exist within you that you haven't quite woken up, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
maybe when you feel jealous of that person, you get to the bottom of why you feel jealous. When it came down to that, I hope we post this on TikTok, and I hope Clark sees this because I'm very grateful now that I'm like, damn, I'm really glad that I was able to experience that.
Hmm.
Um, I had to sit with myself and be like, okay, I already walked out through that process of me processing feeling jealous of her. But again, I had to be like, okay, you recognize that had you not stumbled upon some of the roadblocks that you did at her age, you would have probably been in a different point in life. Um, Guess what? You're here now. It is what it is, right? And then it gave me a chance to highlight the things that I do get to be proud of right now and highlight, the ways that I can go further and the lessons that I've learned and how I can make sure that generations after me don't experience, don't have to feel jealous of people in a position like hers. But even like that other situation where I was feeling jealous, right? I had to recognize like maybe you feel jealous because you do want that thing. So maybe it's time for you to be okay, here we go. Because this being vague thing is just not for me. I'm a naturally a
I'm like,
transparent
Deidre,
person.
you gonna tell the class? You
I'm gonna tell y'all because it's getting irritating trying to be vague. It was over a man, okay? It was a dude. And long story short, it was a trifling dude. It was a trifling dude. Um, who pursued me, and then I found out he had a wife. And obviously we're not involved, but found out he had a wife. And then I was jealous of his wife because I like him. The fuck? Um, and then I had to be like, okay, Deidre, you really don't have much to be jealous of because look how he playing in her face, right?
period.
Like you're jealous, and I was jealous because I liked him a lot. It felt like we had a lot in common. We got along really well, but I'm like, but that's a dog. Like, look how this man doing his fucking wife. So then when I felt jealous that she was the one who was with him, I also was like, but look what she's with. She's with a dude who playing in her face and who's fully
Openly.
out here, who's openly playing in her face.
Yeah.
So I kind of had to do that. Then I had to be like, bro, like the grass ain't greener on the other side. But then I
Mhm.
had to say, okay, Deidre, you're jealous because you want a fucking man. So maybe instead of being so fucking mean to these niggas, you could just let your guard down and just open yourself up to a man coming into your life because it would be nice to have one around. And the one that comes around won't be somebody who
Who gonna play in your face?
who gonna play in my face. So it
Yeah.
was very much that. Damn.
That's a good point though, is that sometimes we experience envy and we don't acknowledge that like it's envy at the other person and the life that they have, but it's also insecurity about the things that we aren't doing for ourselves.
Yes.
Like, yeah, sure, we're gonna experience envy because people more successful in our career path. But like when you do experience that envy, are you asking yourself, like, am I doing everything in my power? Am I working as hard as this person? Am I really
Yes.
working as hard as this person is?
Yeah.
Because the person I was talking about earlier, as much as I experience those feelings of jealousy, I have watched that person put themselves out there in a way that I have never done in that
Mm,
field, that career field.
yeah.
And obviously maybe like I'm just not in that place to be able to do that yet, but for me to sit there and be stewing and experiencing jealousy when they did the work and I
Mm.
didn't was something I had
Mm.
to come to terms with and be like, okay, guys, let's be real.
Mm.
You're doing stuff here and there, but you ain't working as hard as she is
Doing
to have
doing
the
what that
career that
person's
you're
doing.
just
Yeah.
not. And that's fine. But I, in that same vein, if I'm going to acknowledge that, then I can't be sending that kind of energy their way.
Her
Like,
way. Yeah.
it's either you're gonna be happy for this person and do the walk to try to get there, or shut the fuck up. Like,
Mm-hmm.
stop complaining. And I say
Yep.
that all to say, if any of you jealous of we, do the walk.
Please. I was about to say please don't be, but also do the work.
Sorry, I did have some shit today. I really don't mean half the mean things that I am saying. I kind of spicy right now because I'm hungry.
It's
But
giving balance. I do need to eat some food. I'm so hungry. I ate a bowl of
so
cereal.
yeah, I got me a little snack, but we need like food.
Food.
This is the shit we'll be doing when we record it, Io. So I want to specifically talk about jealousy in families, right? Specifically jealousy from parents to their children. Do you think that a lot of the relationships that we're seeing now between parents and their children, like that kind of like tension, is because parents are jealous of the way that their children are growing up now? Do
Absolutely.
you think there's jealousy there?
Absolutely. Yeah. I wholeheartedly believe that there is jealousy there. I find that a lot of it tends to be the parent jealous of a child of the same sex, if that makes sense. And this is a very specific example, but I find that in situations, let's say there's a boy who was raised by um a mom who was not the nicest to him, or whatever the case may be, emotionally unavailable, whatever. Whether that mom was a single mom or not, regardless, if there's a boy who was raised by a mom and he didn't have the best relationship with his mom, when he turns around and has a son, if by chance the mother of that son loves on that little boy, there's a level of jealousy there that the dad can't even quite pinpoint. A lot of the time, probably because if the dad loves the mom, right, of his child, he probably is dealing with a lot of his issues with his own mom while with the woman that he's with, right? Because we see that a lot where a dad will be beefing with his son. Like, that should be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it is because he sees this little boy as taking his woman away from him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And usually those are the men who don't have the best relationships with their own mom. So they end up hating, I won't say hating their sons, but there's a jealousy there of their
Yeah.
sons.
And I think I see that a lot with women too,
I was
where they were raised by emotionally unavailable moms and they're kind of like, well, I'm not going to give you anything better than what I got. Like,
yes, they think it's normal for
yeah.
one.
Yeah. Well, you think it's normal, but also you're like, you ain't about to, and it's not even just the emotional part. There are parents who are like, you are going to get the exact same, if not worse than what I got,
than what I
because I
got. Yeah.
refuse for you to receive better than what I received as a child.
Yeah, and that's crazy to me. So,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, anybody who does not want to do better by the generation coming up after them, they got a lot of healing to do, because it should be our nature to want to make sure that the generations after us are good and better than we were. We're supposed to take our experiences and purify them and make them better so that those coming up after us have less to deal with, because they're gonna have their own shit to deal with. It is what it is. They shouldn't have to deal with our shit and theirs. So those parents who feel like, oh, we dealt with it and we turned out fine or anything like that, it's a huge red flag. And there is jealousy there. And there's usually a lot of times, I think we more so hear about moms who are jealous of their daughters a lot more. Or even like moms who are jealous of their like sons partners, because they tend to
Mm-hmm.
parentify their sons and turn their sons into like their little miniature partner or all
Mm-hmm.
that weird shit. But I wholeheartedly believe that generations prior are usually very jealous of their kids. And you can
Yeah.
always tell based on their interest in making sure that those kids are better off than they were when they
And
were kids and
I think
adults.
I think even beyond family, like I thinking about the panel that we were on and how Shalana was talking about the fact that older generations of women have a lot of scorn for the way that younger generations of women are embracing feminism and their sexuality and are being so much more open and so much more less or so much less conservative, like with our
Yeah.
bodies and all that stuff. And they kind of resent it and they feel like we just out here whiling, when the truth is there might be some envy there about the society that they grew up in and the fact that they
Yeah.
didn't have the freedom to do a lot
Yep.
of the shit they're doing. And I feel like for some older women, they love to see it. Like
Oh
they
yeah.
love to see that shit. They're here for it. They're cheering us on. But there are some women who I think are so deep down envious at the fact that they were not
Upset.
able to
Yeah.
live their youth that way, that
Mm-hmm.
they want to be out here like calling us whores
Mm-hmm.
and like,
Oh,
but that's
absolutely.
envy. It's envy at the fact that you didn't get this kind of life and you refuse to watch somebody else experience it when you couldn't. So this is how you're
Yeah.
going to express yourself.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
It's the truth. It's what's
Yeah.
going on. It's wild.
Yeah. My therapist, shout out to Leslie. That's every time I tell her you go see that lady, that's the lady I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Um, she presented a question to me the other day. I basically was talking about someone in my family who makes constant remarks about my weight and um my eating and my size and all this shit. And I was like, I don't understand what this person's obsession is with my body. And she
Mhm.
was like, do you think she's jealous? And I was like, what? And in my head, I was like, but that's my family. Keep in mind what we just talked about, the fact that I was jealous of my own sister. But I was like, but that's my family. She can't be jealous of me. And
Yeah.
but my therapist basically framed it like that. Like, this is somebody who grew up in a different generation,
Mm-hmm.
who, if you were not a certain size, it was unheard of for you to wear certain clothes,
Mm-hmm.
who like was they were basically controlled so much about what they could wear, how they could look, all this stuff. And we live in a generation now where you could be 300 pounds and wear a crop top and I dare a bitch to say something to you. Like, you do
Exactly.
what you want. So there is envy there. And I don't think a lot of people know how to deal with it. Or like you said, some people don't even want to acknowledge that they are capable of experiencing envy.
Exactly. Because they're not aware that that's what they're experiencing.
Yeah.
That's really it. For them, it's how could you be so revealing? How could you be so whatever? Like when in actuality, it's like, what's it to you? Okay, good example. We talked about her on the last episode. The girl who was at the gym and she felt the need to record the girl who had a BBL. And she's like, oh, these BBLs are getting out of hand and blase blase. Why are you so bothered by this woman's BBL? You're jealous.
Is she vexed
When
that
you
she ain't in the gym working hard?
yeah, in
She
your
feel
mind, and
like,
that's exactly. I'm here at the gym. I'm putting in the work. You're at the gym with your BBL. You're not even really working the way I am. Granted, none of y'all are. You're not working because you're busy recording strangers. So none of you. You're not working. If anything, Miss BBL is working harder than you because not only did she invest in her body, she's maintaining it so she don't got to go get another one. But in any case, you're so bothered by women who get BBLs. You're so bothered. You feel like whatever reason you have in your mind, oh, this is out of hand. You guys are taking shortcuts. It's such a risk. Blase, blase. What's it to you? You're jealous. You're jealous. Just say you're jealous because guess what? She's getting a certain amount of attention that you're not getting. Okay. And so now you're giving her even more attention and you're putting her on more of a platform, but you're revealing yourself. You're jealous. You're not upset at her having the audacity to get such a big butt. Like you're jealous. That's what it is. And when you see a woman with a body that you don't have and you're like, man, fuck her, like fuck that big ass, like maybe do that instead of
yeah.
trying to shame her for something that she has a
Yeah.
right to do. She has a right to go get a fucking ass implant. She
Yeah.
has a right to do that. And you have a right to feel jealous, but what you don't have a right to do is
Is
then
make that shit about her.
to
Like,
make that shit about her.
it's very much about you.
It's you.
Like, listen, I don't think sometimes that I look at Megan Thee Stallion shake her ass and I'll be like, yo, my ass bigger than hers, but it don't move like that. This fucking
Imagine,
bitch.
okay?
But imagine if I went online and was like, Megan Thee Stallion is a dumb whore ass. Like, imagine if
But
I
you know
literally
what?
took it out on her.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up because
People jealous of she.
when I open Instagram and I see girls like on there twerking, I mean, it's not my taste. It's not my style. It's not for me. But there are times where I'm like, girl, this is a lot. Like, get your ass up off the internet, shaking your ass. Like, what the fuck? And then I'm like, Deidre, you just vexed because you can't do that. That's the real tea. And you know what I never do is try to police what that woman is choosing to
Exactly.
do with her body. I don't go on these women. Listen, these girls are doing this, what's it called? This stutter challenge.
Yeah.
Okay. Every time I open Instagram, Monet and all these sexy girls are doing this dance. And I'm like, why am I
And
looking at ass again?
and
And then
my
I'm like,
body
Deidre,
cannot stutter.
and I'm just mad because I can't fucking do it. So what am I gonna do? Am I gonna go criticize them for being able to go on fucking IG and twerk? Or am I gonna
No.
just take
I
my fucking
gone
L and leave?
let
Because
me
I can't fucking dance like that.
let me tell you something because this is kind of off topic. I said it on Twitter and I'm gonna say it again. I love my career, but if Monet paid me to just watch she do that dance over,
First of all,
I
Monet
would
is
make a
so
fucking lifestyle out of
sexy.
it.
I love Monet. Yo, Monet is so sexy.
Like,
Y'all already know this is a Monet Stan account, so fuck y'all who vexed
yeah.
about this.
If
But
you jealous of Monet, this in the episode for you.
no, but that's my point, right? Every time I open Instagram, there's another woman doing this damn stutter challenge. And initially, I'm like, I don't want to see more ass on my screen. And then I'm like, do you sure you just vexed because you can't do that? I really just vexed because I can't do that fucking dance.
You
And
got
I don't
practice at
double
home.
tap and I don't keep scrolling. But that's why I keep showing up because I keep double tap.
Exactly. But you're doing what you're supposed to do when you experience feelings of envy, right? Don't be, there's a difference between being a little jealous and being a hater,
Yeah.
okay? You could be jealous and still celebrate somebody and still wish them the best and still look out for them without being a hater. So if
Facts,
there's
facts, facts,
anything
facts.
I could leave Io with today is don't be a fucking
Don't be a
hater.
hater. Being a
Like,
hater is wild.
it's
That shit
loser
is
energy.
crazy. It's really loser energy. And it's not good up at all.
Exactly.
It's not good up.
That's why we're doing this episode. Before we wrap it up though, I feel like the one thing that we haven't really touched on is jealousy in relationships and the fact that jealousy in relationships kind of also falls under the same thing. Like, I don't think all jealousy in relationships is inherently bad, but I think that the way people conduct themselves because of their jealousy
Mm-hmm.
is
Yeah.
like I think sometimes when people try to be like, well, I'm not a jealous person. I love when my husband will watch other women and I'll watch other women with
Girl, calm
him. I gonna
down.
be real. I'm bisexual. Sometimes Steven will find a woman attractive and I'll be like, yeah, she is fine. But
Yeah.
sometimes Steven will be in a grocery store and the fucking cashier to be flirting with you and I'll be like, bitch, I'll take you out in front of all these people in a safe way. Like, I experience feelings of jealousy. Like,
So here's the thing.
but
Go ahead.
I
Cause
don't grab Steven, but he call and be like, let's fucking go. You ain't going to the grocery store. Like, that's the difference to me.
because it's how you're acting on that jealousy, but also
Exactly.
it's also making sure not to conflate possessiveness and jealousy because those are two different things.
Exactly. I think people say I'm jealous when they're actually possessive.
Yeah. Because for me, I actually am not a jealous like partner, right? Like I don't care if you watching my man. If he wants to go with you, he could go. Like, bye, don't come back. I'm very much that. I'm very much that.
You could watch he just don't be touching his arm and shit. Like, relax, old
That's
lady.
crazy.
But
You
I
know,
think the reason I feel that way is because Steven is a black man and I gonna be specific. It's usually when white women kind of like cross boundaries sometimes that I'd
that's
be like, I'll fight you. Any other one,
crazy.
like a black woman could come up to Steven and be like, he's so handsome. I'd be like, hell yeah, he is. He is. And I'll agree with you. But if it's a white woman,
I'm
listen,
screaming.
be like, bitch, get your colonial paws away from my husband.
Stop trying to colonize my man. Okay, so I don't ever really feel I don't really be feeling jealous, right? Like I don't think of when I think of like my man, my man, um I can't really think of I don't know. This is why I don't have a man because I think I don't really make these men feel like I don't want them. And it's not that. It's just like I don't be getting jealous. Like,
I'm not going to lose sleep and be
yeah,
like,
I'm
you
not
can't
doing
go
that. I'm
out
not
with
going.
other girls and you
That's a
can't.
lot. That's so much energy that I just don't
But I
have.
also
Like,
feel like jealousy and possessiveness sometimes is a way that people convince themselves that they're going to prevent their partner from cheating on them. And
yeah.
when I tell you,
Because for me,
that's
here's
not
the
cheat.
thing. And that's what I was about to say. The thing is for one, I can't be with you 24/7. I can't be with you all the time. I can just hope and trust that when you're not with me, you're respecting me and what we have. I can't and I can't consume myself with wondering what you're doing when you're not with me. Is he talking to other women? Is he other I don't I can't because I can't be there. All that
Yeah.
time that I'm spending trying to monitor your activity, I could be recording my podcast. I could be processing
Right.
orders. I could be hanging out with my kid because I
I could be
really
looking
like
good
hanging
for
out with
my
that
future
dude.
man.
I could be doing so much.
I just-
I'm not putting energy into that. That's number one. But let's talk about, because nobody talks about this enough, partners that are jealous of their partner.
Holly Bailey, listen to me. I don't know if you'd have listened to this podcast. And I understand you just had that beautiful baby. And I'm so happy for you. And I'm so proud of you for keeping your pregnancy private. I would have do the same thing.
Yeah.
But that little triple letter little boy that you live with does not like you.
He
He
don't like you,
don't like
baby.
you.
He fucking hates you. He's jealous of you.
He
First of
don't
all,
like you.
when you and that listen to me.
And I feel like he get you pregnant for a reason. But
Oh, he absolutely trapped her with the baby, but hey, allegedly. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something right now. And we're gonna have an episode on hypergamy later in the season. But part of hypergamous dating and partnering is because for me, because of how men are conditioned. I won't say wired, because I think that's not giving them enough um responsibility for the way that they conduct themselves. Men are conditioned to be competitive. Men are conditioned to be to feel like they associate their success and their greatness with outside accomplishments. All that to say, I will never, I have no interest in, and I implore women to not partner with men who they're doing better than, because I have yet to see a successful relationship between heterosexual men and women where the woman is more successful than the man and that man is fully playing her face. And it's because he's jealous of her. It's giving Wendy Williams and her husband or her ex-husband. I can't. Sherry Shepherd, is that the one who this man fully
yeah.
swindles her into a fucking baby? Now
Mm-hmm.
she paying child support for a baby that she never wanted. Y'all need to stop partnering up with these men. And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not on some, oh, he doesn't deserve a woman. No, men feel more, men's pride, men's self-worth comes from what they accomplish outside of themselves, right? In the workforce, what they have to show for their efforts, their resources. That's what men pride themselves on. Baby,
Yeah.
if I got more resources than you, I am not a good fit for you. Because you're not gonna, because I don't have the energy, the time, or the anything to be constantly reassuring you. Because you are going to feel like you're not enough for me. And it's not my job to make you feel like you're enough for me. It's your job to know that you deserve whatever you want, right? And so, Hallie, I
Run, girl.
hope
Call Beyonce and have her come pick you up.
I
Jay-Z will
just,
drive, the twins gonna be in the back, put a baby in the car and
yeah,
go.
every time I see Hallie and that boy, I just, my heart hurts because, and every woman who is warning her is being told that we're jealous, that we're haters, that we're wishing bad on her. And we're like, no, it is clear as day the direction that this is going in. And it breaks my heart. And I'm just like, we've all experienced some semblance of it. I've been with a man who was quite jealous of me, and I didn't know at the time that that's what it was, and that's fine. Like, and it took me years later realizing that's what it was. But I want to see women recognize when they are with a man that's jealous of them. I just
And there's definitely ways to tell, like people that are jealous of you are constantly trying to humble you. They're constantly trying to steer you away from your light, basically. They're always trying
facts.
to quiet you down to make you smaller in a number of different ways. So there's ways that you can tell early on. And those people, it's not to say that they won't treat you well. It's not to say that they won't express that they love you, but there are always obvious ways. And I think the biggest one is someone trying to get you to shrink in areas where the other people in your life aren't trying to get you
Yes,
to shrink, especially like
exactly.
if you notice that your partner is constantly kind of harping on things that other people celebrate you for, your partner may be jealous of you. If you notice that when it's a moment that should be about celebrating you, your partner wants to somehow make that about themselves and center themselves in the conversation, your partner may be jealous of you.
He's very
Or
jealous of
anybody.
you.
That's for anybody, but especially your partner.
Can I bring Kiki into the conversation? Because here's the thing, before that boy even went on the internet and tried to play in our face about her dress, I remember every time I would see her be in those interviews and she would be propping him up, I always felt uncomfortable because the way she would constantly brag about him and talk about how great he is, I was like, that's the issue in their relationship. I clocked it. By her second or third interview where she was talking about how great he is, I was like, this is something that they fight about. I clocked it immediately, and I chose not to be the person in the comment section to be like, are you trying to convince us or yourself? Like, but I was like, I could tell because she put so much effort into trying to let everybody know how great he is and how happy she is to have found him and how amazing he is. And I'm like, this dude behind closed doors, they'll really probably be trying to downplay this girl and humble her. And
Which is
whatever
crazy because you dating Kiki, like be
Kiki
serious.
motherfucking Palmer. So I clocked it immediately. And then sure enough, when he did that shit with the dress, I was like, see, I know. And then don't even get me started on what happened this fall.
Oh yeah.
I just I want I want to see younger women not be in those positions.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like when we were coming up, the women who were older than us, they weren't giving us those warnings.
No. And so many of us were raised by women whose husbands were jealous of them or whose partners were jealous of them. Or yeah, listen, jealousy exists everywhere. Again, the important thing is what you do with that jealousy and how you deal with those feelings on your own time or on that lady's couch. Once again, you're going to hear some ads from some sponsors this season who have couches of their own, and we encourage you, if need be, call them. Call them now.
Give them a call. They will help you process it. And I wasn't working with my therapist when I was processing my jealousy, but the tools that my therapist gave me when we were working together in the past is why I was able to do what I did. I don't want to take the full credit. It was my investment in my therapy that made me sit with myself and explore what I was experiencing and recognize that it was jealousy. Because my therapist, both therapists that I've ever had, have taught me that negative emotions are normal, but what you do with them is what makes them impactful. And so I'm very proud that I was able to identify that I felt jealous and pinpoint it and do all that digging. That wasn't me. That was the shit I learned in therapy. So call
on
that
lady's
lady
couch
or that guy, because male therapists exist. And sometimes y'all need a male therapist because, you know, the pick-me's out here feel like women ain't all that. So find a male therapist if you need to.
I feel like even if it's a male therapist, I'm gonna be like, call a lady, please. Call her. I feel like call that lady is a gender neutral phrase.
Shout out to Crystal Jean.
Listen, Crystal had me screaming. Crystal was like, call that lady. And I gonna keep saying it this whole season because somebody need to call a lady.
Yeah.
With that being said, I guess we could wrap up here.
Yeah.
Deal with your feelings of jealousy. But I'm curious, listeners, if you want to share with us like an experience where you were dealing with envy and you recognized it, if you want to like tell us the story, DM us at Good Up Pod on Twitter or Instagram, and then find us at just Good Up on Facebook. And yeah, shout out to our sponsors for this season, and in general, shout out to our patrons. You could get access to all of our exclusive shit over in the Good Up VIP community, the VIP section. At patreon.com/gooduppodcast. And just a special highlight to the Facebook community because our Facebook page has been growing a lot in the past couple of months, even while we were off season. So shout out to the VIP people that over on Facebook because I love we bad. And
there we go, right here.
You know, hearts. Did you have anything for the people then before we go eat?
Don't you jealous me. That's that jealousy.
All right.
I love
with
y'all.
That, tell the people then bye.
Bye.
The Good Up Podcast is sponsored by the Virgin Islands Lottery. This podcast is Virgin Islands hosted and produced by Deidre Ritter and Heiza Quinones Ivory. Follow us on all social media platforms at Good Up Pod. Join the VIP section over at patreon.com/gooduppodcast and get access to exclusive bonus content, or visit our website and read more about our episodes at goodupvi.com. This season of the Good Up Podcast is proud to be sponsored by Empath Psychological Services, The Blend Collective, and Greater Changes.